Good morning, and thank you for joining me this morning. I'm live at the Power Smart Manitoba Winter Games. I've had some special guests throughout the morning, Karen Dell and Danton Reimer. And sitting down with me right now, we've got Henry Siemens, co-chair of the Friends of the Games fundraising efforts. And Henry, why don't you just explain to us a bit, how long ago did you start fundraising for these games?
Well, Jayme, we started, it's been about a year and a half out now that we've been working on it. We started planning before that even. As soon as the games were awarded to us, literally we started putting our packages together and started putting a game plan together, started recruiting volunteers because we knew we had a really big effort ahead of us. So that we've formally been knocking on doors is probably about a year and a half. We've sat down with businesses. We've talked about the benefits of the games to our region. We've talked about the fact how important it is to feed into young people and how important it is to support young people in sport. And we've been generally quite well received, but we had a very big task ahead of us in terms of the amount of dollars we had to raise. So we knew we really needed to be out there on an early basis and a regular basis and a consistent basis.
Absolutely. So when it comes to something like this, do you have a target or a goal as far as numbers go, and what did you end up with?
Well, we did have a target, and what we sat down with the organizing committee, and they went through their budgets in terms of the things that we needed to do. We know that when we have 1,200 kids here, they need to be fed. Mm-hmm. So we know we have to provide 3 meals a day for each one of the kids. We know that there's some facility improvements that had to be made. We know that we have to move them back and forth by bus. So once all of those numbers started coming into place, and the executive brought that to the board and said, these are the dollars that we need, that kind of helped guide us to where we needed to be. We needed to find $300,000 plus in terms of cash and some things that we could trade. We can trade some gas, or we can trade lumber to make a podium, or those kinds of things. But ultimately, they all have to be paid for. So we did achieve our budget. We ended up with $328,000 worth of community support from the Morden-Winkler-Stanley area. And that got us to a balanced budget. We're very happy to be at that point, obviously. It was a monumental task, and we knocked on a lot of business doors. And we had an awful lot of conversations with different businesses that chose to get involved. And we had sponsorship levels tailored to hopefully be able to be open to every business. Whether you're a large business or a small business, we wanted you to have an opportunity to be involved in the games. And we did. We were supported from our top level, $15,000 sponsorship level, right down to our copper level, the $500 sponsorship. We had many businesses that chose to come in at that level. And even past that, we had some businesses that sat down with us and said, $500 is an awful lot of money to me. Yeah. And it is. It's real money to most businesses. I can't quite get to that point, but can I make a contribution less than that? And obviously we're excited to have those conversations and happy to work with people to find the level that made the most sense for them to become involved in so that they could support these games.
And it can't have been an easy task to go around asking for money. That is never the easiest thing to do. But it's amazing how, and I was mentioning this to you earlier off the mic, how at first it was difficult to find volunteers for the games, but we ended up with so many people volunteering their time. And the same thing financially. It's like those people who maybe couldn't spend the time all week being here could contribute in that way.
I think there was definitely some of that, yes, Jayme. But I think when we really look at generosity of our corporate community in the Morden-Winkler-Stanley area, it never ceases to amaze me. For $328,000, over and above the normal giving that they do to worthwhile charities, to worthwhile organizations, their normal sponsorship and advertising, our business community came forward and said, these games are important, we will participate. It was a number of conversations, and we started fairly slowly as well. There was a large education process involved as well. There were many businesses that we sat across the table from them and talked about the Manitoba Winter Games who weren't quite sure what those games were. Yeah. So we spent some time educating in terms of the scope of it, the size of it, and what we're actually doing, and that we're going to host Manitoba's largest multi-sport event. It's a really big deal. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we're going to have 1,200 athletes in our community, that our schools have agreed to move their spring break to earlier spring, that we're able to use the school's facilities as dorms for the kids. It was just tremendous to have. And as the light started going on in people's eyes and they started realizing how big of an event this is, ultimately, it's a $750,000 budget event. Now, a lot of that money, of course, comes from Sport Manitoba for athlete registration fees and things like that. It comes from some of the provincial sponsors as well. But when all is said and done, just about half of it was raised in this area, and I'm very, very proud of that. I'm very proud of our community, our business community, for coming forward and helping to make that happen so that we're able to put these games on, and we're able to show the athletes that come here and the visitors that are here, we're able to show them first-class facilities, first-class events. We're able to feed them well. It's just terrific.
Well said. Thank you very much, Henry. That is Henry Siemens, co-chair of the Friends of the Games fundraising efforts for the PowerSmart Manitoba Winter Games, which continue throughout the week. You'll have to stop by and check it out.